So where are we not clear?
Yeah, I guess.
You're on.
It's on. My question is actually, we all agree probably not by now that management is very important. So who takes that decision? It's not relevant to ask the architects that question. Perhaps Michael and Paul knows. Who takes the decision? Who are the influences? And when will that decision be made?
Michael, you want to answer?
Yes. I totally agree with Maggie that management plan is just important. So is the conservation plan, since we have identified conservation character defining element. Professor Ho will be looking at the historical conservation plan. I'm asked by the community to start working on principle, then that will be debated most likely after this round of public consultation. So we'll start debating publicly on the management issues, most likely in May when this roadshow finishes.
What was number 3? Was that? Are you the new thinker?
I want to know how much heritage conservation is actually in this project. Because in the URA brochure, right from the beginning, from Mrs. Carrie Lam, she said, this project is not driven by heritage conservation. I'm very surprised to see that. And my question is, what design brief has been given to our architects in the first place? Because as far as my understanding of heritage conservation is concerned, you have to have some principles in the first place. You know, if there must be some principles to start with. And I'm also quite surprised to hear Mr. Ma say that Dr. P.P. Ho will be looking at the heritage conservation program or assessment, something like that. Should that be done in the first place? And my second question is 5 minutes from this market, there is a very vibrant street market in Graham Street. And that market is gradually being disintegrated and destroyed by a big URA project. And now, in this Central Oasis project, I'm seeing all sorts of market stores, Dai Pai Dong inside, which is very sarcastic to me. How can URA, on the one hand, destroy the street market and put back those stores in an indoor market, and we don't know how they are going to manage it?
Okay, so the architects can answer what was the brief, and Michael can think about his answer about why he's destroying the street market. What was your brief?
In summary, I guess there were a couple of character-defining elements which we meant to retain. They included the horizontal windows and the ledges over the windows. They included some of the rounded corner expressions of the building. They include some of the stands which are inside the building, the atriums. So there were 4 or 5 elements were identified to us which we meant to respect and retain. And the other element of the brief was that we should incorporate some green element into the project.
Yeah, I think we are given the same brief.
Okay. And whether Michael wants to answer the street market question is up to him.
And also the survey, that's what people like, what people don't like. Apart from the same brief, we are giving the same amount of time also.
No, Vito,
same amount of money, right?
Yeah, same amount of money. So Vito, would you have given the architects the same brief as they've been given by the URA?
So I can't answer this question because
You want to know?
it's different. But I just want to say something about, I would say, make it clear that what I tried to say about the design of the building is completely different from when somebody talks about, what is it, character-defining elements. For me, these are 2 different words.
That was a good brief answer. Okay, I will do 2 and then we'll come to the next section.
Okay, I actually put my hand up for option B, and I think there's just 2 gentlemen over there for option C. And this may be a bit unfair to ask the architects, but just very, very quickly to throw it at you. we know that architects like to be gods, creating everything. You have a lot of time to think about this site. 500 million, if this was a brownfield site, what would you do under option C? What would you put there?
Whoa. No pens, no paper.
Just the first thing that comes to mind, what would you do? You know what's required. You know.
First thing come to my mind
5 words next.
Who is the client?
The first thing which comes to mind is what would I not do, and that is put towers there. I would definitely retain some sort of low-rise building in open space.
That's 10 words.
Wow. Easy. Take down the building and build a park.
Very.
Once again, look at my diagram before. Imagine we are now in 2039, 100 years anniversary of Central Market. Are we still willing to see the market as it was in 1939 or as of today?
Okay, I'll leave it to the audience, that question. That's another vote, but I won't do another vote. Last question on this side before.
Thank you. My name is Joseph. I've got 2 questions, and one is on the people level, and the second question is about the architecture level. For the first question about the people, what I've heard in today's section is about giving people what they want. I think there's quite a big risk over there, because at the moment, people are easily being moved by political agenda and everything. So my question is, what do you think the people really need? So my second question is about architecture. For this building, we always refer to Bauhaus, we refer to Le Corbusier, we refer to the modernism building. What do you think the essence of those kind of architecture and their style and their organizations? And how do you think your project is responding to those? Because I think for conservation, it's not just about the appearance, it's about how to capture the accents and then try to reinforce it and try to strengthen it. So that is my 2 questions.
Then good questions for your architects. Brief answers. Who wants to go first? Go on, this. Barry wants to go first?
I think this morning we keep repeating the same formula as we are defining by different level of workshops, and we have a lot of wishes from the people of Hong Kong, and which has laid down on fundamental elements of our brief. And of course, I do agree with you, because as time changes, the demand and also for whatever political reasons, this kind of demand and need of the people of Hong Kong will changes. So I think today is what we are not putting a full stop right here today. I do believe these 4 schemes will continue to grow. And then Michael, a moment ago, just remind me, next month we have to work together again and again for a new brief, and after receiving all your questionnaires. So I think that is what we call the evolution.
I think, can I
You want to interrupt him?
No,
That's okay. No, that's good.
I think I want to echo
Barry's is that previously with Hong Kong we have 2 different approaches. Okay, I won't say top down. I mean, it's taking example of the chef. We cook this set meal. You like it or not. It's the typical government style of consultation. You know, in various large projects. Different is while sort of public engagement is you ask people what do you want. You get 104, 110 types of answers. But I think this approach the advisory committee is taking is really to walk people through. We get consensus. Then we ask the architect to develop 4 very different schemes for them to sort of agitate them, okay, tease the ideas, and then further develop